Or heard of it. Okay. Why don't we just let's deep dive into that first movie, and we'll go over to Alex, and he'll throw Avatar: The Way of Water for us. Go ahead, Alex.
Show us the way of wonder, Alex.
I
Do
will
it.
show you the wondrous ways of water. Let me get undressed and take my camera into the shower. All right. Anyway, Avatar: The Way of Water. It 13 years in the making, ladies and gentlemen, and Michael and I watched the first movie 2 days before go seeing the new one, and we'll get into that obviously in my watch list. But watching the first one, man, it's been a long time. And there were things I forgot, like the fact that the villains are the best. They are the absolute best. Colonel Miles Quaritch. I don't know how they say that. He is freaking hilarious. That in that first movie, I was laughing at every single thing he says. He is so funny. And then the like Elon Musk type guy, Parker Selfridge, he's freaking hilarious too. Like they are. Oh my god, I did not remember them being so funny. So anyway, so going in, I was like, okay, well, we're not going to get much of them, obviously, they were in the first movie. And then, so the movie opens up with basically showing the passing of a decade, after the first movie. And this is where like the movie, this is where the movie feels the most like the first movie, where you've got like the exposition, the monologuing over everything else. And like, honestly, the things about Avatar I don't really like that much is way too much exposition, way too much all that. That's where it felt very much like the first movie. But fortunately, in my opinion, that doesn't last that long. Anyway, so it shows a passing over a decade. It shows them have kids. It shows those kids grow. It shows a stupid kid with dreads, and we will touch on him throughout this review. And oh my
Spider!
Oh my god.
Spider!
The moment I saw that kid, I was like, this kid's going to suck. He should not be in this movie, and I hope he dies. Anyway, so life seems good, We've got family. We deterred the enemies. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, humans show back up and wreak about 200 times devastation than they did in the first movie. Like the first movie is like they knocked down one tree. In this movie, it's like, let's burn the planet. Like it's just like from their ships. But one of the coolest musical cues in this movie, maybe it's probably the coolest, is when those ships and they're starting to send down their little pod ships. And it's like a weird, like violin, like very ominous tone. And I was like, I like it. So anyway, humans are back, and
Sky people.
Yes, Sky people, and they just instantly destroy everything. I don't understand how, because it looked like they killed the mother tree again. Well, I guess it probably is a different tree. They're all whatever. They're all giant trees, but I don't really understand. They must have been on the absolute fringes of this because they survive and they leave. But anyway, so they basically run off because Jake Sully's kind of now like a pacifist. And I don't know if that's just from having kids and having times of peace, or if it's from seeing the devastation that was caused in the last movie. But he doesn't want to fight. He just wants to run and protect his family. Anyway, but guys, it's been 13 years since this first movie. They've had all this time. And they're like, we got to come up with something great. So that, they're probably working through villains. They've got them on their desks and they're just like, no, not good enough. They just throw these sheets of these villains off the table and they're like, they're not good enough. And then I'm sure they had this revelation where they're like, we hit gold first time around, with Quaritch. We're like, we had it. It's like, let's just bring him back. We'll bring him back. We'll bring him back blue. And like,
what's Stephen Lang really doing now? Come on.
No. Surely
he's available for work.
So you might expect that I was very excited about this. Anyway, and then so he comes to reclaim his rightful throne. But the problem with this movie is it's not really a problem, but it's only a problem for this joke. And the fact that it's not him. It's a clone. It's a clone that has his memories pre-death, probably like a couple days before, I don't know, embedded into his brain. And this Quaritch is not funny. And
He hisses.
he does hiss. He's not funny. But, you know, this movie matured. The old one is very old type movie. This movie matured, and he is a lot more of a mature villain, in my opinion. A lot more well-rounded, well-written, all that kinds of stuff. Not crazy well-written. He's no Thanos, but he's pretty good. He's a good villain. Anyway, but again, yeah, he's not funny at all in this movie. The only time Quaritch is funny in this movie is the webcam footage of the real Quaritch. He's hilarious in those scenes. Like, I'm like, can we just please get the real one back? Anyway, so yeah, like I said, they're Jake Sully. They're on the hunt for Jake Sully, where for some reason, like the military government, whatever, decides to fund this clone with his vendetta for Jake Sully. And they just give him everything. They're like, we'll give you men, we'll give you ships, we'll give you everything just to kill this one person. I'm like, this makes no sense at all. Like, oh man, I thought that was so funny. Okay, so then, kill Jake Sully, and then I talked about Jake is a pacifist. So he takes his family and runs, and then they go to somewhat near like Water Tribe, which in the trailers I did not I saw that some of them were more teal, but I thought it was just like the upgraded visual style they were going with. But no, these are totally different. I did not get that from the trailer. Maybe I totally just wasn't paying attention, but they're totally different tribe. They're basically just the Zoras of this world. And it made me really want a Zelda movie with Boyd Holbrook as Link. Why not? It'd be dope. Anyway, but yeah, we have basically Zoras, and they convince these Zora people to stay and hiding in their tribe. And they're like, all right, but you got to work. You got to be useful. So then they learn how to, hold breath. They learn how to swim faster. They overcome prejudice of one another, save outcast whales, but then they don't save another whale that's like brutally murdered. And throughout this whole time, they show Jake being like super hard on his son. His not his firstborn, but his younger son. His son can like do no right in his eyes, and you can tell a lot of it's motivated by fear of what can happen. So he's wanting him to like get his crap together. But anyway, and then also in this time, the stupid Dreads kid gets kidnapped and is like straight up helping the humans, even though he says he doesn't want to, and just further cementing in my mind is like the worst decision they made for this movie. And then the more that we get into these water people, there's also this weird subplot where Sigourney Weaver's like magical daughter has this like ability to call the wilderness to her aid. And
by Sigourney Weaver.
Played by Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, I'll get into that later. God.
Oh, interesting. So we saw this movie with Johnny, our friend Johnny, and he had this theory of why this is the case, is that this was right after the movie, so I don't know how well he really concreted this out, but I liked it, where she's like almost like a reincarnated version of her mom, that when she was hooked up to the tree in the first movie and dies, that's why she has this connection to the spirit, because she died and possibly reincarnated. Because they even say like they don't know who the dad is. They have that joke about that other scientist guy, but I don't know. That doesn't really make a ton of sense to me, because unless they banged as avatars. Anyway, yeah, Johnny had this theory that, because she's hooked up to the tree or whatever, that she has this like kind of like special connection or whatever. So I liked that idea. Anyway, and then let's see, I put that's pretty much it. That just kind of like keeps growing, and there's like this weird mystery about it throughout the whole movie, but they never really totally explain it, and I don't know if they will, but anyway,
like 3 more movies to go.
Well, apparently he wants this 9-hour version of the next movie. So
yeah,
well, he's already shot the third one. They're in post-production now, and I'm just like, dude, like, stop, please.
This reminds me of I don't know why, but throughout half the movie I was like, wait, like I know that Kate Winslet's in this movie. Who is she? And she's like that water tribe lady, and I'm like, couldn't tell. Couldn't tell at all. Because a lot of them kind of look like them. Like, Zoe Saldana kind of looks like Neytiri. Definitely Sigourney Weaver looks like Kiri. Jake Sully or Sam Worthington looks like whatever. And, but yeah, she doesn't look like her at all, which is interesting.
The Water Tribe people didn't look like anybody.
That's true.
Like their actors.
They look like Zoras. But they were dope. Gosh, they were so cool. Like I was so down with it. I love the way they look. I love, they're a whole different lifestyle. What's nice is that this wasn't just, in my opinion, wasn't just Avatar 2. It was like a different spin on the first one, in my opinion. Or not even different spin. It was just, it was nice and fresh at least, with a different locale and everything. Anyway, but okay, I've been taking a long time with this, but it's a long movie. So the movie climaxes with a very long and very well choreographed, like basically final fight scene, in my opinion. I think it's very well paced. Like it was exciting. There wasn't any time where I was like, what is happening? Like, it wasn't just like action just thrown in your face. It was like, I think it was really well paced. And I didn't expect, this to be like basically the entirety of the movie is really this whole like giant third act, basically. But you got like these flying fish birds, which are really cool. And then Neytiri's like in the sky, like in the first one, just shooting arrows. And I know they overdid it, but I still think it's super cool that those arrows just go straight through those windshields and kill the pilots every time. I think it's just because they're just giant.
There's like 4 or 5 instances where they like focused on that exact shot.
Yeah, it's because it's cool, man. It's cool. And then there's a whale that plays on a boat for a while, wreaking untold havoc. Anyway, and then in this kind of like seeing the 2 daughters get kidnapped like 47 times, and the brothers have to go save them every time, and the firstborn brother dies in the event of this, and I thought
one.
Yeah, like I thought like, okay, well this is going to be like a turning point maybe between the dad and sorry, I need to plug in my computer. I forgot to do that. It's gonna die. But like I thought that Jake Sully and his second son were gonna like maybe come closer at this point, but then he's still at this moment is still just like he tells him, he's like, you've done enough. And I was like, in my mind, when he said that, I was like, we're running out of time for a resolution between these two in this movie. I'm like, we're getting there. And I thought maybe we just won't get it till a later movie. Anyway, so then, so he dies. And every time that they show Neytiri have like tragic, heart-wrenching stuff, it's definitely like over the top, but I think in kind of a good way. It's like very primal, and I believe it. So I think that's really good. Anyway, so then they eventually get in this like near drowning scene where 2 groups are both nearly drowning. And this is where they have that arc where father and son kind of reconnect. And then I guess the son shows worth in his dad's eyes, all that kind of stuff, but really well done scene. I'm like, how did you turn it around that quickly? In my opinion, I was touched, I was moved, and then we moved on. And then the Kiri shows her magical ability to be able to bring little underwater butterflies and guide them away. Father and son Neytiri. Oh yeah, so Neytiri ends up going raving mad, and then there's a fight scene with the clone of the cooler guy, and a long fight scene, and they've kind of I've totally forgot to mention that his son is the stupid dread kid. And you can kind of see that there's maybe a little bit of curiosity and wanting, not just curiosity, but longing curiosity, where he's like, that is kind of my son. But anyway, so then there gets to a point where he has Jake Sully's daughter hostage. Or is it his son? It's the daughter, right?
Yeah, it's the daughter.
Okay, thank you. It's the daughter, and then Neytiri comes in, and I totally didn't expect this. I don't know why I didn't, because he the dread kid kind of grew up with them, so I thought maybe there was, but when push comes to shove and you got your own kids on the line, then you're going to sacrifice the kids that were just hanging out with your kids. But anyway, she gets
kill the soccer group. I want my kid.
she puts the stupid dread kid at knife point, and she's like serious. Like everyone believes she's gonna kill this kid if he doesn't release their daughter, and it's super dope because it shows how far she's willing to go. And it's super dope also because we got really close to killing that kid, but she doesn't.
Alex is like, do it.
Yeah, I was so wanting that to happen. And then I'm not blaming the actor, even though I don't think it was a great actor. It's not his fault that they wrote a terrible character. Anyway, but yeah, she's about to do it, and then he's like, forget it, you can have your daughter, blah 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 blah. And then a series of things happen, and he almost ends up dying, and then the stupid dread kid ends up saving him, basically ensuring that, well, for me at least, we get another movie with this guy, even though it's the worst version of him. But that's at least nice. And then yeah, and it does kind of set up for like, I mean, this is like, these are the biggest movies that the world has ever seen, and we're setting up for just another movie with the same conflict between these people. Okay. But anyway, so yeah, they survive, the onslaught, and then we'll see where it goes in the next movie. Although it could be cool, I guess, if Ostrich, whatever his name is, Quarch, if he ends up like shifting, maybe this is a turning point for him. And then I'm not saying that he needs to be a good guy, whatever. And then the last note I have is just that stupid dread kid should have died. So, geez, I'm sorry that was long, but it's a long movie. It's a long movie. I'll jump into my thoughts real quick. I actually really liked this movie. I didn't expect to really, but even when we watched the first one a few days before, the first one was like, man, I even kind of like this movie a lot. I think I'm in the middle of the story where like people with the first movie story, I'm like, I don't think it's a bad story. I just think the plot is fine. It's whatever. It's not great. It's not bad. But the problem with the first movie, I think, is that they don't give the characters room to breathe. Like, they don't give Jake Sully enough of a dilemma, in my opinion, where they should have really focused in the first one of him being like, I'm torn. Like, this was my mission, and yet I'm falling in love with these people, and I'm seeing their side. And that if they had focused more on the personal side of him instead of him, expositioning, that's the worst part of the first movie, is they act like the audience, which I get it, it's an older movie, but they act like the audience is stupid. They act the audience cannot figure anything out on their own. And I think this movie's a lot better at that. There's a lot more subtlety to the characters. Like I said, the beginning of the movie is very much so the first movie. It's like, oh, here we go again. Like, here we are, Pandora. But anyway, but I think they rectified that a lot better in this one. I think even though it's not like a super captivating story, I feel like the characters are good in this one. They're quite good, in my opinion. Do I think some of the whale stuff was necessary? It was interesting, and it was very, very cool. That whale scene where they murdered that whale, that was like, I was uncomfortable. Like, I was like, can we just, it sounds bad, but can we just kill this thing already so we can like move on? Like, I was just, that was not fun. And that was a long scene too. And then after watching the first one's interesting too, because the visuals at times, oh my God, they're terrible. Like, I feel like they can't do dark in the first movie very well. Like when scenes are at night, it looks bad. Or like when they have that big beast chase Jake Sully and try to bite at him through the roots of the tree and all that stuff. He's a dark beast in a bright scene, and he does not look like he fits. He's like got all these blue highlights, I guess because they're trying to have the sky reflect off of him. But there's like no green reflecting off him, so he does not look like he fits in the scene. But in the first movie, every time that it's bright and colorful, like when they have the first flight where Jake Sully like connects to the bird thing and flies, it looks amazing still. It's very strange. I also want to make a note of I don't understand these movies and their weird like sexualness of them. Like why are they sexually connecting to everything?
Why are they so sexy?
Like why could
they're hippies, Alex?
No, they're not. I thought about this. They're not hippies.
They live in trees, Alex. They're hippies.
Here's my problem with hippies. Is that again, they think love can save the world. They think that all violence is bad. That's just categorically false. These guys are all about using violence when they need to. That's why I think They're not hippies. So thank you.
They're violent hippies.
So they're just
they're new ageist hippies.
They're not hippies. But they're just basically like, clearly inspired by Native Americans. He has a hatchet half this movie, but anyway, but yeah, I just don't get this weird like sex like imagery everywhere. Like even in the first movie, they showed like these little like nostrils on creatures, and it just kind of just vaguely looks vaginal. And I'm just like, why are you doing this? But anyway,
the way like their ponytails connect to things, it's like, oh
yeah, like okay, if their ponytails connected to things and it wasn't sexual, or like their eyes dilated and like, oh, it's so weird. If they just did that to connect to everything and then had sex normally, I'd be fine with it. But it's the fact that they have sex the way that they also connect to like animals and trees and their children. And anyway, it's very odd.
Oh man,
it's very, very odd.
It took a dark turn.
About how the humans could win this war by making something spread. But okay.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Just inject a little something in that tree, you know what I mean? Little STD, but
germ warfare.
Yeah, because that'll spread fast. But anyway, but with this movie, I quite enjoyed it. I'm sure I'll have more to chime in. But I'm kind of a fan again. Kind of a fan of this series again, and more so of this movie. And I'm kind of excited for a 9-hour version of the third movie. Let's start to Thomas. I mean, you don't seem as into it, so let's hear what you got to say.
Okay, so sorry, I'm getting over Joseph's biological warfare idea. James Cameron like listens to the podcast like, I have an ending for 4 now. Yes. Okay, so this movie didn't need to be 3.5 hours long. Like, you could have cut an hour out of this movie and it would have been fine. Like, really, it would have been perfectly fine. Cut off some of the sweeping, majestic shots that we kept getting. And granted, everything looks great in this movie, but it's just so long. It's so long for no reason. And okay, do you guys think that he actually has had avatars planned out since the 1980s? Because I think is that he made this one idea that he'd been kind of like brewing about for like years, but he only had one movie planned. Like, it's like, oh, that's all I got. Because the first movie ended on like pretty much a clear cut, bam, that's it. And then it made like billions and billions of dollars. And he's like, no, I've got more ideas, maybe. And
I bet you're right, just because like there was no excuse not to make one almost immediately, because it made all the money in the world.
That's the thing, is that it exactly. It's like they weren't lacking funding. He had the funding, and 13 years to make a sequel like this. It's not like Blade Runner or anything else that had like a massive cult following. Yeah, this was a big like event, but nobody's favorite movie is Avatar. Like, no.
Oh yeah, there is. Definitely some people whose favorite movie is Avatar. It's the highest grossing movie of all time.
That doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't have like a fan community.
Yeah, like, but it doesn't have like a community, like a hardcore following.
I guess
it's like cool.
You think of like Star Wars, you think of like the Marvel movies. There's like a huge community of fans everywhere, but this one just doesn't have that.
Not even like amongst sci-fi people, which I seek out sci-fi like movie people and like channels and stuff, and Avatar isn't even close. Like Aliens is, Terminator is, The Abyss is, but Avatar, no, I don't think so. Mostly because I think like the story itself is just so generic. It's nothing special. We've seen like my mom and dad used to say, oh, this was Dancing with Wolves with blue people. That's what this movie was. And kind of saving or Last Samurai type stuff.
It's Ferngully. I mean, if you watch Ferngully and Avatar, they're the same. Like
it's the same movie. Like I said, like I don't think he had this planned out. I think this was just him trying to push as much as he could to get the money out of this. I don't know, and I don't even know how well this is doing either.
I don't think he's a story guy. Like even with his other movies, I think he's about like scenes and
spectacle.
The visual guy. Maybe he and he loves the ocean, so maybe he does just think of all these. He has all these visions and all these shots in his head, but he doesn't necessarily have a story to go with them.
Yeah. Well, even like Abyss. Abyss is my favorite movie from his because it's got a really cool story. It has some really cool visuals. The fact that they made the entire set in an underwater like set, that's awesome. It's a great movie. And like some really solid performances too. And I think like in this movie too, I think the performances were better than the first one. Sam Worthington, I think, was better in this because in the first one, he's basically just a cardboard cutout. That's all he is. Like he's not much. Stephen Lang does steal the show in both movies, but because he's just so bombastic and over the top, you can't help but like, yeah, this guy's probably the coolest part in this movie.
But is he on anything else? I don't know him from anything.
He's a character actor. He's been in a ton of stuff. He was in that Don't Breathe movies about the blind guy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's in a lot of stuff. He's in Gods and Generals. He played Stonewall Jackson, which was a weird part for him. He's also in the prequel, the Gettysburg one. He played another Confederate general. But like the first 30 minutes of this movie was a recap and almost a retelling of the first movie that happened. It's like the first 30 minutes was like a recap of the first one. And then the first movie happened again on the planet again after the sky people fell or came down. Which I think that was probably one of my favorite shots though, is the colonist ships. Those are cool designs. And I love the landing like procedures of them coming down where they like when they come down, they burn everything and that clears the colony for them. And like that's kind of a cool like design. I like that idea. Yeah, colonists, woo. Ah. But I don't know about the rest of this movie and its concepts because like for what Johnny had, I think was probably a better idea than what I was thinking is that they kept like asking who her father was, who what was her name? Sigourney Weaver's daughter. Yeah, her Kiri, yeah.
Kiri, yeah.
Is that her father? I thought her father was gonna be Awa, like the great spirit, and then like she would be like basically Natavi Jesus, like
I mean,
miraculous conception. I don't know, but the thing is, like, they kind of introduced that, but they never really like focus on it.
Yeah, they're probably saving it.
And okay, and the thing about Sigourney Weaver voicing the 12-year-old is that the 70-year-old woman's voice is coming out of this 12-year-old, and it
looks terrible,
weird and creepy. And the fact that she's like supposedly, you know, romantically interested in like this human kid, and it's like that's just weird. I don't like that.
And when she's like talking to Sully because he's trying to console her because she's not having a good time, it's just so like awkward, and it's just like, what the heck were you guys thinking? You couldn't find a 12-year-old girl to voice this?
Yeah, or I don't know what the idea was about her having that. I don't know. It was weird. And I don't know about you guys, and I know like some of you guys were like nodding along to what Alex was saying, is that the wailing part though, I thought honestly you could have changed up the music and it could have been like an action adventure scene. Like, yeah, this is how we actually, you know, like produce the whale or the product that we're actually going to be doing. And part of my like just stupid brain wanted to go like that world is a vampire, the Whale Wars like ship, but that was a weird connection. And I don't understand because James Cameron always has a message, like an environmental message in a lot of his movies.
Yeah.
Apparently whaling's bad. We all kind of know that, and nobody's really like arguing with him on that point. Maybe some Japanese businessmen, but that's about it. I'm not sure who that was preaching for.
I know, which is like deeply cultural for the Japanese.
Yeah, well, same with like the Norwegians.
Really.
Norwegians and Japanese are the only ones who whale, and everybody gives them crap about it. But they don't do it for like, you know, to hunt them to extinction. It's just it's a very
they know how to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
They're doing it for centuries.
Exactly, and it's very weird. It's like, oh, you like to kill the whales, don't you? It's like, no, nobody likes to kill the whales. We all think that's bad. Like we're sorry it happened like centuries ago, but nobody's arguing with you on this point.
His environmental message definitely are heavy-handed for sure.
Oh, they're always heavy-handed. Even in Abyss, like they had to cut out the environmental message because it was like, guess what? The military's out of commission. It's like, yeah, we should probably cut that out. That's a terrible line. But even with this, I was just like, okay, so whaling's bad. Yeah, it's bad, but I'm not arguing with you.
It's like you're supposed to be like super culturally sensitive nowadays. Yeah. As long as it doesn't bother us, like Americans don't have any thirst for going whaling, but I mean, there is some cultures where it's like an established like
way of life. Yeah,
and it's probably a touchy subject. You probably don't want to just go over-handed with the whole thing.
Well, and just like so like the Na'vi themselves are kind of interesting, like a character design, but the new ones were a little weird because like now they're just like space New Zealanders. They even had like the
they
type stuff.
Based on that,
I only know that because like my mother is obsessed with New Zealand and she loves like the haka and everything else for like rugby, and that's how they act when they act like aggressively toward like their enemy. Is that they're even doing the same like war stances as the New Zealanders. I'm like, did New Zealand conquer this planet a long time ago and nobody told us, or what? So because they even have the same like spiral tattoos and stuff.
You could make that argument about, I feel like, literally anything in this movie, though. Like, oh, they use bow and arrows. Did, Native Americans conquer this, whatever, years ago? Or like, oh, they use war paint. Like, I do feel like you could make that for literally anything. Like,
I guess. It's just that one just stuck out for me. I don't know why. Especially like the war face. That was just like, what the hell?
I mean, you could get deep into this. Like when episode 1 came out and the Gungans were only based on a culture, which everyone knew that wasn't okay, but why is this culture okay to like riff on? So it's a complicated subject, and I don't think Hollywood does it very good.
No, but I don't know. And then the biggest part for me though is just this movie didn't need to be this long. And I'm not averse to like long movies. Like my favorite movie is over 3 hours long, and I don't care. But this movie didn't need to be that long, like whatsoever, especially for the generic story that it was. It's just like, okay, please move along. Please move. Also, they really focus on one more thing before I'm done. They focus a lot on those crab spider bots those guys wore, but they only used them like
at the same time.
Yeah, it's like
I love those.
they're great.
But yeah, that's all I got.
Design or something.
I think that's all I got. I'll probably chime in like we always do. Joe.
Oh boy, okay.
I kind of want to hear both of you go at the same time.
All right, you might want to buckle up for this one. I'll start with James Cameron is not my favorite director. I like Alien better than I like Aliens. I like T1 better than I like Terminator 2. My favorite thing of his is probably True Lies, and that's probably because it just like devolves into a Michael Bay movie at the end. But
the Harrier jet's the best part.
So yeah, I hated Avatar 1. I didn't like anything about it. I came into this movie like this week and I was like, oh man, I gotta go see the 3-hour Avatar movie. There was some hope though. There was a glimmer of hope because I was hearing good things online, like from people who, like me, didn't necessarily like Avatar 1, but they thought this one was okay. Oh boy. I went to this movie. The first part is okay. Unlike Alex, I didn't think it was a rehash, probably because I haven't seen Avatar 1 since like I first saw it. So I kind of enjoyed the first part of the movie because it was super sci-fi. It was, and then when they get into it, it's like an action movie, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be like an action adventure movie with this family trying to survive. And then, oh boy, they get to the islands, and it's just like, man, put it on snooze or something. I've never fallen asleep at a movie. This one, I was fighting. I had to fight the whole way, man. I could. My head was heavy. My eyelids were heavy. I didn't want to be in that movie theater. That's like
Knees weak, mom spaghetti.
it's an awful feeling to feel like you don't want to be somewhere. I didn't want to be there for that. It's basically the first movie again. It's like they took two bookends with stuff that was okay and they stuffed the whole first movie back into it. I mean, we got to learn how to fly dragons. We got to learn how to ride whales. Oh my God.
They're water dragons now.
Yeah. Oh boy. Then the script's not that strong where like in movies like this where you have family, like a family drama, normally you'd have some like fun comedy with the kids and stuff. The kids are just jerks. They're teenagers. I didn't care. Didn't care about like any of them. The little girl's like cute, but not till like the end when they're like in danger and like in the middle of this war. And then, oh yeah, that little kid actually has some character to her, but that was like way at the end.
Instead of just being generic young one, number 6.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, they had 4 kids. The poor spider kid. I know he's a terrible, but
He's a terrible.
I feel sorry about the end because he's like, yeah, just kill him. He doesn't look like us. It's just like, I'm like, dude, man. He and then they even make a point of saying he's not part of our family.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. When she's like, no, he looks like the devil. I'm just like, whoa.
Like he's like a stray dog, and I'm like, oh my God. It's like
Joe, he's literally helping the villains. While like half-hearted being like, oh, I don't want to do this, but I'm having fun with my dad, you know.
No, he is terrible. The whole Sully family is terrible. Movie doesn't have a plot. The guy, like Tommy said, you could cut out the whole like hour and a half of the middle of this movie, squish the other ends in, and you have a decent movie that I probably wouldn't hate. No, we got this. Sully, best decision he could come up with is these people are in danger over here, so I'm going to move my family over here so they're in danger.
That's pretty stupid.
It's like, what the heck is wrong with you, man? Go live in a cave if you want to keep everyone safe. Oh, my God. Who thought of that? Who wrote this down and thought it was a good idea? I mean, oh, man. And then the way the humans are just, they're so evil. They're like,
Okay, so something I forgot to mention. So in the first Avatar, what's his name? Quaritch, the Colonel.
Quaritch.
When they're like assaulting like the Na'vi like home base, he's like really like manly sipping a cup of coffee. Like, yeah,
he
war's
is
good day today. And then in the second one, there's a woman who's doing the exact same.
Yep, Michael brought that up.
With like a freaking cup of coffee. Go for it.
I had something to say about that scene. Okay, so she's in the mech suit.
Oh gosh.
Training the mech suit, I guess, on a heavy bag. I guess the mech suit needs to build muscle.
It's a heavy bag.
She's drinking the coffee, the mug, which is mech suit size, but she's like drinking it and it's like her size. I was like, is that something I missed? Is it just a big, massive cup that she just like?
It's just like a
That's
dog
that's
bowl.
your size cup, Jared.
That's true.
and whenever they first show her, and I think Quaritch's avatar goes up to her and shakes her hand. That's such a dumb scene. She like puts out her hand and the robot shakes the hand. Like, this is so stupid.
Well, also, she disappears halfway through the movie. We never see her.
We didn't
again
need
after
her
the
at
first
all.
assault.
And also, the actress is from Everybody Loves Raymond, so I was laughing at that.
Is that the mom?
No.
She runs the Girl Scouts, and she like hates Raymond.
Oh, I remember her.
What a weird character actor to show up in like Avatar. Like, that's weird.
Yeah, the villains are just cartoonishly evil. They tell us that Earth is dying. don't you show us that? Why don't you show us some hungry humans? And maybe we could have some real character, with some real drama between the Na'vi and the humans. It's
Where's
we're
Wally?
It's
Well,
just
they say that too, but we never see any human colonists. We just see like military and scientists. It's like,
Yeah.
of course, it has
why-
the James Cameron theme of scientists are really stupid.
but the good guys, yeah.
And somehow the good guys, the scientist character was terrible. I didn't like him at all.
Who
they're
has the harpoon now?
I know.
That
I
was
would
so
have shot
bad.
That line.
That was so
I would
dumb.
have shot that man. So what was it saying? Oh, this movie. Not a bad movie. It's got a bad middle. But it's not badly made. There's some CG in the beginning I didn't like. But the whole ending was fine. It looked good. I guess there's like an uncanny valley thing you got to get over, and then once you do, you're like, "Oh, I'm okay with this." Good stuff, like Alex said about the whale part. I think that's really good. It does make you uncomfortable, especially like when they're walking in it and they're like drilling the brain stuff out of them.
Yeah.
Stuff where they're almost drowning, where the water is rising up. That makes me personally uncomfortable because drowning would be awful, and I think they do make it seem like they're about to drown and that they're in real danger. And so I think they actually did a good job of portraying that. Sorry, not betraying. What else was good? Like you guys said, my favorite like scene was when the ships are landing and they're just like burning everything. I'm like, this is cool. I want to see a movie like this.
Yes. It's like, why can't we have that? Like that's what
Why can't we have space? It's following me. I don't want to see like National Geographic for an hour. That's not a movie. I go to the movie to watch stories, not like fake documentaries. I want to watch that. I'll watch National Geographic and see real people swim with real whales. I don't care about CG people swimming with CG whales. It's just it's not how my brain works. Not a bad movie. It's just I don't want to pay money to sit in the theater for 3 hours to watch like James Cameron get his jollies off. That's what it feels like. I feel very dirty watching this because I feel like I'm watching this guy just get off to what he loves.
Screwing animals and screwing.
You're right. Like there's focus on the butts of the Na'vi, and I'm like, why are you doing this? I don't need to see this. These are fake people.
It's like he took furries to the next level. Like he was a furry fan, but he was like, gotta go further.
I didn't know that they were covered in fur until they had like a close up of one of them, and there was like fur like on their stomach. I was like, whoa,
they have fur.
Wait, who had fur?
Hair.
The Na'vi does.
Oh,
I thought it was his skin.
Yeah, I thought they were smooth.
Yeah,
when they're examining her.
That sounds really bad.
When he's doing the up down, like ooh.
Yeah, I just didn't enjoy the middle part of this movie. Put it up, put the end and the beginning together, and maybe I'd have a movie I'd enjoy. This one, go ahead.
Okay, so that last fights, like the ending fight scene, did that feel like it shouldn't have been the last fight scene? Because I thought it was going to be like the penultimate fight scene, and they were going to have like some other fight scene afterwards.
No.
Is that just me? Okay.
Yeah. There's not much left for me to say personally. This movie is probably going to make a lot of money. It's way too early to tell. It made the lower end of what they were projecting.
I think it only got like half of what they thought it was going to on the opening weekend.
I made like 130, I think. My theater was packed.
Same.
I live in New Mexico, so there's probably a lot Probably a lot of new ages here, and there was definitely people clapping at the end. So I
A
guess
lot
I
of
was.
wannabe Navis over there.
But
I'm not
personally,
proud of
I'm
him.
not a fan of Avatar. Not a fan of James Cameron. Just hearing that his next movie's 9 hours long, and
Made us cringe.
I'll watch it for the podcast if I have to, but I'm not excited to go back to Pandora at all. Jared, why don't you give your
Okay,
thoughts?
are you guys ready for this?
Yes. God, yes.
I've never hidden the fact that I hate the first Avatar. I actually kind of enjoyed this movie. It was a lot better than that first. That first movie, before this movie, I was dreading it, man. I did not want to watch this movie. I didn't want to pay money to go see it. Hell no, I was not going to pay like IMAX money for this, and I didn't. But I can't say I didn't like this movie. It was a lot better than that first one. That first one is dreadful to me, dude. Like thinking about going to the living room, sitting to watch it, that's hell. This movie, I didn't love this movie by no means. Like I have a lot of issues with it, like you guys, but like I'll name some of them real fast. When the Colonel dude, or what, I don't know the character's name. I don't know name. I don't give a crap about Avatar. I don't care about Pandora or these blue people. I don't like them as like a sci-fi race. I just don't care about them at all. I think he really needs to do some kind of world building because it's terrible. This galaxy is terrible. I hate it. But the Colonel character, he wakes up. He's like, "Oh, I'm a blue man," and he goes up to the mirror and he's checking out his fangs. And they're normal sized fangs. They're proportional. They're not like they're not like saber-toothed fangs. And he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah. And then I was like, what the heck was that scene? And then I already mentioned the one about I was confused at the size of that coffee mug. And like you guys were saying, that whole like shaking the hand was so like kind of cringe. But like I said, I don't care about the Na'vi. I kind of dug the water ones with their fatter tails and stuff like that, and their fins. I thought they were pretty cool. Way better than the forest ones. The forest ones, man. But anyway, like Joseph was saying, the Sully family sucks. That whole ending part where it's like Sully stick together. I was like, what is this, a 90s cartoon? What the heck?
Fast and the Furious?
But the best characters in this movie were the whales. I love the whales.
What about the whales, Jared?
The outcast whale had so much heart and so much. I loved him. He was so adorable. I don't know if it was a he or whatever, but it was so adorable. I just like the whales, guys. They were awesome.
You can write them.
Like you guys, I did not enjoy the character that Kiri character or whatever her name is. It was very cringe. How she controlled like everything or certain aspects about Pandora or whatever, because she was more in tune with it, and now she was just laying face first in the water, and even the other avatars or like the Na'vi are like, look at that weirdo. She's just sitting in the water face down. The story wasn't that great, like you guys were saying. You put it well. This movie had a lot of actors. I was like, I forgot about like Giovanni or what is his name? Ribisi or whatever his name is, and then Jermaine Clement as that scientist. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that dude. But it had a lot of actors. I was like, oh yeah. I'm trying. Oh, I hated Spider as well. I just wanted like Tarzan music to play every time he was on the screen, like "Son of Man" or whatever. Like, start playing.
What I don't get is why he went around like almost butt naked. Like, I understand like the Na'vi do, because that's how their bodies are like adapted to the forest. He's still a human. Like, that's probably not the best like environment for a bare naked human boy to be around.
Yeah, but-
Navi.
I mean,
He's like Mowgli.
exactly. I think that he would do that. He clearly wants to be them. So I think
Yeah,
that
I get that.
he's going to emulate what he wants to be accepted, I think.
But he's still weak, like in that environment. Like everything around him wants to kill him.
I think it made sense. It's like Tarzan. He wants to be the apes. So
I don't think I even hated him as much as I hated the other son, because like the kid constantly got him in trouble. Like every freaking time he went off, they were in mortal danger.
That's where Sully annoyed me almost more than him in a lot of those scenes, because like, yeah, he was irresponsible, but he's also young, and he's also in a environment where proving yourself is a part of the culture. And he's like, I don't know how to prove myself because clearly my dad's not going to show me how to do it. And I got to find a way to do it. And that's where, and half the time it was like for good reasons. Like he's trying to save this whale that everyone freaking hates, and because of a misunderstanding. And then, that was kind of dumb. And so like, I feel like, he was stupid a lot of times. And the way they were the dumbest is that they would like bring their sisters along, like the little sister. I'm like,
yeah,
that's where you're being an irresponsible sibling. What's up, Thomas?
Well, okay, when the scientist was like getting the ambergris that's not ambergris out of the whale, and like he's like, they're much smarter than we are, and have like poetry, music, science, neurology. I'm just like, then why are they still swimming buck naked in the ocean?
Yeah,
like they're stupid.
Where are their ships?
He's like, she's saying songs with me. I'm just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that's just Cameron being like super New Ages right there. It's like there's no reason for that. They're whales. They're cool. They're smart. But they're not geniuses. They're not building interstellar ships and flying around.
Turns out at the bottom of the ocean, there's just a whale with a fedora. It's this whale Oppenheimer, just like biding his time.
I wish they just left it, because the one explanation I did like is how they're way more sensitive emotionally, and if they had left it that would have been fine, because then that makes the whale hunting scene even more sad. But then it's not like, they're brilliant guys.
they're very easily killed by like some rednecks with a boat. So.
Oh man,
you have the harpoon now. So. God, I hated that line.
That is a terrible line.
Yeah, but I did like that like ending scene on the boat when they're fighting the dude, the colonel or whatever he is, and then they get trapped in it. That was pretty good. But like you guys said, it didn't need to be 3 hours long. They needed a lot more like montages, I guess, of just like living with the water people, swimming with whales.
I think that, sorry, real quick. I think that's why I don't mind the runtime at all. And because I actually really liked all of that. Like, it reminds me of like in Dragon Ball, whenever he meets new friends. And
I'm going to get Alex a subscription to National Geographic for Christmas.
Do it. But I don't know why. I think it's just because I'm with you and not with you, Jared, in the fact that I don't hate like the Na'vi as a people. I'm not in love with them at all, but they're fine. But I'm with you in that the water people are way cooler. So I was totally fine with us like exploring I love their little like trampoline walking paths to their huts. And like and they just look cooler. Like they look more beastly, I guess. But anyway, sorry, continue.
I don't know. It's just something about these Navis that I don't really gel with. And I agree with you, like the sexual undertone of these movies is a little weird and makes me uncomfortable. And then I kind of have a feeling what's going to happen in the third movie with like the bad guy and stuff like that. And if they do what I think, I'll hate it. But I was surprised that I didn't hate this movie. Like I said, the first one I still hate, but this one was a lot better. It's like Super Mario Sunshine. When you're in like a tropical land, it makes it a little better. You're a little happy.
Yeah, the environment makes it a little better.
But yeah, I didn't hate it. I was surprised at myself.
I was like kind of dreading watching it until we watched the first one, and I was like, wait, okay. I do kind of like this movie, and I think this one's way better than the first one. But anyway,
It is better, but for me, it's still trash.
fair enough.
Better trash.
Two
The ingredients are great, but it's still trash.
little notes I thought of because we're talking pro and a con. Pro, like Alex said, Neytiri, so much when she's crying, because she cries a lot in this movie. She's fighting and she like lets out that vicious like mama bear warrior. That's really cool, man. She's just like cutthroat, she's bloodthirsty.
When she was like hunting people and like Spider like looked at her, she's like, okay, maybe not approach her right now.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool.
The humor in this movie sucks so bad, dude. Like none of the jokes landed.
Humor.
I was about to say, I'm like, I don't even remember jokes.
You know, like, oh, I'm tied up again. Like, and then there was like a few other jokes that were just like, oh my god, dude, who's writing these?
Like either Joe or Thomas, I can't remember. They said that scientist, and I like that actor. That's a Fly the Conchords guy, but all of his lines are stupid. Like they're trying to make him out to be like a good person. Like he's like, oh, I don't agree with what they're doing. I've been going along with it for years for my research, but I don't agree with it. Like I'm like, you're a terrible character. And then he had like the worst line in the movie where it's like, who has a harpoon now? But but no one's worse than Spider.
I'm not gonna lie. When the whale got on the boat, I was pretty like, yeah, you go, whale, dude.
Heck yeah, dude. I thought he was gonna die, and I was gonna be like annoyed, but he didn't, and I was happy.
Mm-hmm.
What does that tell you about the rest of these characters? That a basically non-talking whale has a better character arc than most of the characters in this movie.
Dude, I love the whales. I'm not gonna lie.
Those were great.
I don't like the end, like the very end, where he's like, we're gonna leave you people, and they're like, no, you're our family now, and he's like, okay, we know what to do. So it's like it was so disappointing because I want to see other stuff. Like James Cameron, when he was making these, was like, okay, we're gonna explore different worlds every time. We're gonna go back to the water world. I don't want to go back to the water world. Go to the ice world next or something. I don't know.
What really annoyed, the more I think about it, the more like, because I was just like, I didn't have an opinion on Spider really. I thought he was kind of annoying and like kind of stupid. But the more I think about it, like that whole like saving his fake dad, his clone dad, I was like, dude, you saw what these people were doing to your adopted like race and family. It's like, why are you saving him just because he has the memories of your dad? Like it was like,
no,
you gotta think, dude. You gotta use that brain.
You're not my real dad. You're my dubstep dad.
This is the one scene where like I don't like what he did, but I kind of bought it because they don't really make it seem like that he's torn between his like fake dad and his family. I think that even when he goes to save his fake dad, he's like, crap, or whatever he says is like, he feels compelled to do it because of the mercy that was shown him, because he, his fake dad like let go of the kid,
Yeah.
And
would it be better though if he would have actually stayed with him? Maybe.
No, I would have hated that. Oh my god! Because then that would have made his character even worse. Where he's like, okay, you really are just like a flaky character. Where it's like, just because someone shares your dad's memories, you're going to go with him, even though this family you've been a part of. If they did that, I was really thinking they were going to do that in the theater. And I was like, so glad they didn't. Because even though I still hate his character and I really hope he dies, at least he kind of is showing that devotion and loyalty to the original people. But if he doesn't tell them that he did it, then he's a douchebag.
Well, this way he makes me feel like he's only with the blue people because he likes what's her name, not because like he cares about the family. It's just that he's attracted to the blue girl.
Well, but they did accept him at the end. They like brought him in the hug in that little group or whatever.
It was so bad because they already just hugged, and now they got to have another hug fest just to include this guy. Would have been better for me if he would have like felt betrayed by Notori like slitting his throat. So now he feels like he has nowhere to go, so he's gonna go with this guy to maybe change his ways.
I would have liked if she just killed him because she was always kind of racist towards him. Like he needs to belong to his people.
That could be interesting because then that would make the villain more sympathetic maybe in the sequel, where it's like, oh, you did kill his kid. You're kind of a villain too. Yeah. And that could make his motivations a lot stronger in the next one.
Yeah,
but with racist now.
With what?
For the third movie, I want like this giant ship to touch down, and all these clones of Stephen Lang just walk out, and it's like the Clone Wars.
Yes. They just go to Camino. With what you're saying,
the Clone Wars have.
Yeah. With what you're saying, Joe, I think that if he had felt betrayed and went with his dad, I think that personally, I would have been fine with that. If they made it more of a reaction from hurt than a reaction from like anger. If they made it like, oh, they betrayed me, I'm going to go work for this guy and I'm going to be the second-hand villain. Like I would have hated that.
Yeah, it has to be like he's feeling betrayed and he's feeling isolated and he doesn't feel like he has a place to go.
Yeah. Yeah, that could have been good. But alas, they kept him a good person, I guess.
I feel sorry for the actor.
Me too.
He's like, he basically grew up on this set.
Oh,
like
he's
this
so
is
lame though. That character sucks.
Yeah,
dude. The moment, I shouldn't make snap judgments like this, but the moment he appeared on screen, I was like, "You suck." Why do they have this character in this movie? It just totally like it's so unnecessary. Oh, I hate that character.
Yeah, it's like I hope this kid doesn't have any social media because this character is just going to get trashed for the next 10 years.
Oh, that reminds me. Because he's lame. A lot of his scenes are lame, and it's not his fault, like you're saying. I mean, I don't think he's necessarily a great actor, but he didn't do a bad job. But one thing that drove me nuts in this movie is I was like, if I hear these stupid teenagers say bro one more time,
oh, I know,
I'm gonna blow my brains out. It reminds me of my nephew was in a mode for that like a year ago where he was just like, hey bro, like he says it every 20 seconds, and they would not stop saying it in this movie. And I'm like, why are they saying bro? Why are they saying bro?
Also, why do they have Jamaican accent
exactly
like half the time, but not half the rest of the time?
Oh, I don't know.
It's bad. It's bad. Get away from Pandora.
Can we get off that
planet?
I have some last thoughts that I jotted down. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
One, it's kind of cheesy, but I did like how that they kind of smoothly transitioned and not having to have subtitles to the whole movie, where he just said like, "Oh, it's like it was English the whole time now because I'm so used to it." And then they switched it. I was like, "That's stupid," but I appreciate it. And then.
You know who did that better? Red October, where they just like started speaking Russian, they zoomed in on the mouth and zoomed back out, and they were speaking English.
I haven't seen it, but that's a good idea. Okay, so the first thing when we were talking, all these I thought of when we were talking, but I thought like, okay, you get this cerebral spinal fluid or whatever from this whale, like okay, but it's worth like. Well, also, it's not even worth that much money. $80 million to go to another planet and get some stuff from whales. That's not that much money. That
doesn't even get you off of Earth.
That probably is the amount of fuel it takes to get from like Pandora's like edge of their atmosphere to the landing. Like, and then
don't we have like bigger concerns? Like,
exactly. What is money anymore? Like, it doesn't make any sense. When I saw that scene, I'm like, this is James Cameron just be like, poachers are bad. Oh my! I thought that was so
also
stupid.
What happened to unobtainium? Is it just
you
now?
Noticed they did not say that.
Can they have? Is it obtainium now? Is it not unobtainium?
Yeah. When we watched the first one, I like burst out like with a little like chuckle when they said that in the first movie. I was like, I totally forgot that's what they called it. And
this is our new chemical compound, MacGuffin.
Unobtainium. Anyway, okay. So I'm sure you guys know Kate Winslet broke the record for holding the world record for holding her breath underwater, and
Did we
I'm
ever
like,
see it?
when? Like,
Yeah,
is this an
let's see
Avatar
about
3?
that.
Is it an Avatar 3? Because there's a scene where a lot of people have to hold their breath for a long time. You weren't present. Anyway, I will say the 3D was cool. It's quite cool. I enjoyed it. And then I didn't mind Kiri because I know you guys were saying that you didn't like her at all. I didn't mind her. I didn't mind her voice acting. I didn't mind any of that. And I did.
Her voice was creepy. Her face was creepy.
Her face
story
is kind of creepy because she has that human like nose because she's like that, like, you know, missing link between the experiments that got them the real avatars. Anyway, but I did also like the cool explanation about her like mental state. I can't remember what they said. If they said that they thought she had something that would explain
epilepsy.
Cerebral palsy.
epilepsy, I think is what it was.
epilepsy.
And where like they were like, oh yeah, you see these visions, and it's like it kind of like left it open ended where it's like, okay, well, what's true? Is she connected to this AWA?
But then she did the fish
Is
thing.
science or spirit's
Exactly.
real?
And I actually this is like a continual wrestling in my mind with literally that. And I know that's not a new thought or anything, but like this movie like hit me several times where it's just like there is that like balance that you kind of try to find in life where it's like rational versus spiritual. And this movie, there was a lot of moments where I was like, I see the value in both. And that's why James Cameron is a little bit annoying and how that he highlights one side as being the clear good when I'm like, well, okay. But that's all I had to say. So I'm done.